Today I am bringing you a Gideon build and guide video. Back in the day, I introduced a build and guide video for Gideon when Monolith first arrived to the scene on Paragon, but I feel like that deck is a little outdated. With the recent V40 patch rework, we have been introduced to some great, awesome cards that you can use to accompany several of your heroes throughout your builds, and I hope you have used them and implemented them into several of your decks because they are great. Today, we're not only bringing you the powerhouse build with lots of damage, just as every other caster should focus on when building a caster, but today we're also focusing and emphasizing the versatility that can be used when fighting an enemy team. Every enemy team comp is different. Every enemy team comp has different heroes, and every hero has weaknesses and strength that can go against you or can work for you when it comes to playing as Gideon. And in this build, we introduce not one, not two, not three situational cards, but 6 situational cards that will help you excel as the homie Gideon himself. So today I am proud to introduce to you what I call the Wizard Sleeve build. This is top tier builds where we go from the early game to the mid game to the late game. I break it down and I show you why I pick certain cards in each order. And I'm also going to explain the 6 magical cards that we have up our wizard sleeve. And I'm going to show you why I choose everyone for certain situations, for certain heroes, for certain game styles. And I'm going to break it down and show you why I have them in my deck. So today, let's get right into the build. But before we get into the build, let's go to our utility. So our prime card is going to be the Archmagus or the Archmagus, whatever you want to call it. It's going to give us extra power and is a great card for every caster or every burst caster in the game. We're also going to roll with 2 mana potions and a healer token. Disclaimer, this build doesn't have any mana regen. I know a lot of people love their mana regen when it comes to building casters, but I have found very few occasions where I run out of mana during a team fight or when I'm split pushing a lane, because these casters naturally get a big pool of mana, and in this build we focus on power and then also a little bit more mana that we build through straight up raw mana. Then our healer token, we use it to obviously to sustain in lane. Healer token for me in the laning phase is a really crucial card that every mid laner should have when they come to laning. So now to the early game. In the early game, our first card that we're going to pick up is a Brawler's Ward with 3 minor powers. It is super important to have a ward as your first or second card as a mid laner. The mid lane is a hot spot for ganks, for rotations, for a lot of things to happen. There's also the river buffs, so it's also really good to have a lot of vision throughout these routes located within the mid lane. So our second card is going to be a Staff of Adamant. And the Staff of Adamant, you're going to go ahead and put 3, 2, 1 power, making it a 9-point card, giving you power and a little bit of mana. Our third card is going to be the same formula. It's going to be another Staff of Adamant, 3, 2, 1 power, giving you a 9-point card with a little bit more power and mana. So those are our first early game cards, and now we're going to move on to the mid game. After I have built my Staff of Adamant, I like to save up 6 points and grab our built up Brawler's Ward. And our Brawler's Ward, we're going to go ahead and put 3, 3, 3 power, making it a 12-point card. After that, you can discard your minor Brawler's Ward to help go ahead and build up that Brawler's Ward. Our second card is going to be an exceptional card that every caster should build, and that is Hydroverser. Our baby Hydroverser. Really good value for any caster in my opinion. Hydroverser basically gives you gain power equal to 7% of your current mana, and it is worth its value. And this, we're going to go ahead and put a 1-point chrono or a 1-point spark to make it a 9-point card, just to balance the numbers here in the build. But yes, we're going to go ahead and pick up our Hydroverser. So once we have built our 12-point Brawler's Ward and our 9-point Staff of Adamant and our Hydroverser, we have built a foundation where we have built enough power to siege, to poke enemies, and to do lots of damage throughout our abilities. Now that we have built up this foundation, we have options to choose within our 6 cards that we have implemented into this deck. I'm going to go through each card and show you why I pick certain cards in situations or to counter certain heroes. Each of these cards are 9-point cards, and I'm going to show you why I pick certain cards in certain situations. The first card I use out of the 6 cards is Thick Blood. On Thick Blood, we get a unique passive. On hit with ability, apply Blight to enemies for 4 seconds. Blight reduces healing by 40%. On Thick Blood, you're going to go ahead and put a 3 power and a 2 power, making it a 9-point card. Basically, Blight is good against heroes like Rampage, like Chimera, like FaZe, like Narbash, and is also really good against lifesteal builds which focus on lifesteal to do healing. So any form of healing, Thick Blood will shut that down through Gideon's abilities like his ult and his Cosmic Rift and his Burden. Just really good to counter those heroes. So if you find any enemy team comp that has a lot of forms of healing, Thick Blood is a really good pickup. Our next card is Teleblink. In Teleblink, go ahead and put a 3 spark and a 1 spark, making it again a 9-point card. Teleblink allows you to consume 75 mana to teleport forward. You cannot use this card after 5 seconds of taking damage from an enemy hero, however. So now you're wondering, why do I use Teleblink on Gideon, which already has a built-in teleport in his kit? I like using Teleblink to initiate with my ultimate. A lot of the times what happens is you will initiate with your teleport, you will ultimate, and then after your ultimate is done, you will find yourself in a vulnerable position. You will find yourself in a bad position because you have been exposed during your ultimate. Usually what Teleblink does, if I find myself in that situation lots of time when I use my ultimate, I will pick up Teleblink, I will initiate with Teleblink, I will ult, and then I will reposition myself with my torn space so I can blink out of that situation. So Teleblink is a really good pickup for that. Teleblink also allows you to rotate to lanes a lot faster. It's only on a 15-second cooldown, so you could Teleblink and you could teleport extremely fast to other lanes. So if you find yourself in that situation where you're always exposed after your ultimate, Teleblink is a really good pickup. Our next card that we have in our stash in our wizard sleeve is Cast Converter. Cast Converter is a 6-point card. We implement a 3 spark in there, making it again a 9-point card. Basically, it's an active card. You consume 175 mana to gain 47.5 health regen for 10 seconds. Pair this up with a FaZe or Narbash that has excellent healing. You will find yourself using this card at the same time, giving yourself more than 100 health regen if you can communicate well with your support. However, I use Cast Converter to counter heroes who are poke heavy on the enemy team. For example, if they have a Morgash, a Revenant, another Gideon, a Howie, or somebody who is doing a lot of poke damage, and you find yourself in a situation where you're getting poked out of lane, you're poked out of team fights before they happen, Cast Converter is a great pickup. It'll allow you to stay in the team fights longer, allow you to stay in lane longer. It just allows you to sustain a lot longer. So Cast Converter is a great pickup against an enemy team comp that has really good poke. The next card is probably one of my most favorite and most used cards that I like using in this build, and it is Nanoplasm. In Nanoplasm, go ahead and put a 3 power, again making it a 9-point card, just like our other wizard sleeve cards that we have in here. Basically, Nanoplasm gives you lifesteal, but for your abilities. It gives you the passive of Spell Vamp. Heal for 20% of ability damage dealt to enemy heroes and 5% against enemy minions. This is especially good and monstrous on Gideon's ultimate. If you can get some minions and at least around 3 or 2 or maybe even 4 heroes in your ultimate, Spell Vamp is gonna heal you up as you're taking damage in your ult. It is so good on Gideon. Probably the best ability to use on Nanoplasm is Gideon's ultimate. It is that good. It is so freaking good. I find myself using this if I'm getting focused a lot in my ultimate. If they don't have any form of CC to stop my ultimate, they can still hit me while I'm on my ultimate. So if I can manage to get 3 people in my ultimate and a wave of minions in my ultimate, I will get a lot of healing while on my ultimate. It will make it harder for them to take me down in my ultimate. So Nanoplasm is a phenomenal and a really good pickup, and it's really good in a lot of situations to pick up this card. So we're also gonna use Tainted Magic. Tainted Magic, we're gonna go ahead and put a 2 power, making it a 9-point card again. Tainted Magic is really good. It gives you the unique passive of Spell Burn. Dealing ability damage to enemy heroes applies a damage over time that deals ability damage equal to 8% of the target's current health over 4 seconds. Usually you use your Gideon ultimate in the beginning of a team fight or in the middle of a team fight when people are still at full health or halfway health. Tainted Magic is a good pickup for that. It allows you just to deal extra damage with dot damage to basically just supercharge your abilities and basically to apply that dot damage on your ultimate. So it's really, really good. Another great pickup if you're looking to do more damage with Gideon's. Another really, really good pickup. Our last card that we have here is Divine Shield. We're going to go ahead and put a 1 mana, making it again a 9-point card. Divine Shield is really, really good against people that can interrupt Gideon's ultimate. For example, if they have a support and their support is relying on the stun to stop your ultimate, most supports like Narbash, like Decker, are gonna have only one form of stun. So if you ult and you have Divine Shield and Narbash goes to thunk you, or if Decker goes to thunk you or hit you with their stasis bomb, it's gonna completely negate their stun. It is really, really awesome. I find myself using this card against supports like Decker and like Narbash, sometimes Richter as well, but Richter has many interruptions, so he's a really good counter to Gideon. But I've also used it against Richter and have really a good success using Divine Shield. If you can use Divine Shield to negate a stun and get your ultimate all the way off to its full potential, it is an extremely devastating ultimate, and why Divine Shield is included in this deck to counter stuns, to counter interruptions to Gideon, so we can basically get our ultimate all the way off, which in itself is completely devastating. And such a good card, such a good card. I find myself using Divine Shield and Nanoplasm most of the time. Out of all of these 6 cards, Nanoplasm and Divine Shield are the ones that I pick up the most, just from the situations I've been catered to. I have found situations where I use Cast Converter and where I use Tainted Magic. So there's always a situation that offers itself up to allow me to pick one of these 6 cards. So those are the 6 cards, and I hope I explained well enough why I use them in every situation. Again, Nanoplasm and Divine Shield being some of my personal favorites, but also Cast Converter, Thick Blood, Teleblink, and also Tainted Magic also being really, really good pickups as well. So our last card that we're going to use in the late game is going to be our ability pen card, and that is a Shadow Scroll with 3/3/3 power, 3/3/3 shock, making it a 12-point shock card. I believe it gives you 24 ability pen. Again, having ability pen built up in the late game is really good. You get your value out of it because at that time a lot of heroes have leveled up to where they have that base ability armor, and also it's going to get through a lot of armor that some bruisers or other tanks might be building. So it's just a perfect amount of pen that I found useful in this build. So anyways, that's the build right there, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys took away something from this video, or some cards that you may find useful from looking at this building guide video. Again, another little tip I can give you: you can replace your Staff of Adamant. You can replace one Staff of Adamant to sometimes pick up Thick Blood, because Thick Blood also is going to give you power, and you find yourself needing Thick Blood and then using another card like Nanoplasm, you can always get rid of a Staff of Adamant to get 2 of these cards if you really, really want them. Thick Blood usually being the one that I do pick up with like Nanoplasm and Thick Blood if they're rolling like a Rampage or Chimera. And then if they're always like focusing my ultimate, then I'll pick up Nanoplasm as well. So if you want to get 2 of these, get rid of a Staff of Adamant, but usually I just pick up one of them like it's supposed to be used. But again, there's always room for another card as well with by getting rid of a Staff of Adamant. If you feel like you don't need so many situational cards, if you maybe only need 3 situational cards, go through the card system, look up 3 cards, and then you can maybe build like another early game card as well. You can vary this build, tweak the build to whatever your liking is. But I found this to be perfect. 6 situational cards for 6 different situations is more than enough opportunity to create advantages based off different team comps here throughout the games I've been having with Gideon. So it's such a good build. I love this build. Versatility, man. Versatility for me makes what makes a great deck from a good deck is versatility. So I hope you guys enjoyed the build video. It's your boy RapTRz, and I'll see you guys on Paragon. Later.